ladies and gentlemen, is how the war started on October 7th, all the way back in 2003. Here we are in 2025, and Israel is still going into Gaza to finally finish off Hamas. We're going to take a look today at exactly where they're sitting at. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the Speak the Truth podcast. If you're brand new over here, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I want to let you guys know as well, I don't know how I ended up missing this article. I mean, it's freaking huge, and I'm going to be discussing this later on today in a video that I will be putting out later on this evening. I don't know if any of you guys have read this article or not that got put out by The Hill, but a lot of people are talking about it, and it's kind of starting to piss me off because I actually went through it, and I'm going to tell you, man, Alan Cooperman here, in my opinion, changed history more than Vladimir Putin did when he got interviewed by Tucker Carlson. So we're going to be going over all that as well. Pants check. I've got my pants on, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know why you don't think I got my pants on every single time I'm in here. Everybody wants to accuse me of not having my pants on. Well, I showed you guys how the war started. Let's take a look and see how the war is going for Hamas. Check, you know what? Big screen this one. Check this out. Check this one. Now, probably my favorite part of this entire little video right here is as it's going out and you start zooming away, is you actually do get a pretty big look across Gaza at some of the destruction and whatnot that's taking place. Why is my light not working? That's going to start driving me nuts. Okay, so listen. Israel has been conducting a lot of airstrikes across Gaza, and we're seeing a lot of not just uprisings, but a lot of other signs that the battle is actually continuing to shift over inside Gaza. I mean, it is continuing to shift. Before we get into that, we're going to start talking about this incident right here. For those of you that are unaware, somebody over inside of Amsterdam thought it would be a good idea to try to set off a vehicle-borne IED. The suspect's in custody, and I'm going to roll this video for you so you can actually see it. I want you guys to watch this red vehicle right down here. This red vehicle right down here. All right, that sucker was set to go boom, boom, and it kind of failed. And we saw this take place over in New York City actually a couple years ago. And when I say a couple years ago, I mean many, many years ago. Somebody actually tried to do the exact same thing, and it had one of the very similar results to where the vehicle ended up catching fire. Pretty freaking sad, in my opinion, that people are trying to do this stuff to innocent folks. Is in Imon 25. Can't even pronounce your name correctly, but thank you for becoming a true supporter, friend. Good to have you on board. Let's go ahead and take a look at this and let this video roll. Again, watch that red vehicle right there. And you see people quickly start to run away from it, and then it just starts to smoke. Why do you guys think we're seeing this stuff over inside Amsterdam right now? Anybody at all in the comment section, if you think you know why some terrorists would think it'd be a good idea to set off this bomb over inside of Amsterdam, you go ahead and you let me know. I'm kind of upsetting that umbrella was in front of it when it went, but it definitely looks like the vehicle fire started. Where was the VBID? You missed it. It's right here. It's now on fire, and you can see the driver going to get out of the vehicle. He tried to actually blow himself up with it, and there you see him rolling out, and he's kind of on fire, and he rolls around, and he puts himself out. Let's watch that one more time, because the suicide bomber went ahead and caught himself on fire is what actually happened in this video. Yeah, watch. You're going to see him come out the window right here. It didn't detonate. It failed to detonate. It was a failed detonation. And when you have people that don't know what the hell they're doing, this tends to be the result. All right, is this type of stuff happens. That's why I said we saw the exact same thing over in New York City not that long ago, like a couple years ago. The Amsterdam authorities allegedly have this individual in custody, and I have another video for you of kind of the aftermath of that whole little incident. So give me one sec, and here is your aftermath video.
Wat voor aanslag of zo, gast? We hebben gewoon... Wat de fuck gebeurt hier gewoon? We zijn gewoon aan een aanslag ontsnapt, hè? Nee? Ja, niet zo ontsnapt. Waar is dit dan? Ja, dan met jou mee, vriend.
Now, what's absolutely wild to me is that there's still so many people standing around this thing. You heard it, you know for a fact that sucker popped, and I'm worried right now that it's not just going to be Amsterdam where issues like this happen. I want you to watch the people with the umbrellas and stuff, everybody that's around the vehicle, how quickly they react. I'm going to give you my thoughts on this here in just a sec. Watch how quickly they react. Goes boom, and then you see all of those people immediately. See this whole crowd down here, so it was a simultaneous pop when you watch it. Up too early. Watch it. Boom. You can see him all turn and like kind of like jolt at the same freaking period of time. He's wearing jorts today. I'm sure that's why he's worked up. I am not wearing jorts. I am not. I am wearing pants today. I am a pants wearing man. I even got a freaking NFG hoodie on that you can get over at nfgshop.com. All right. Incog Faraday coming in, gifting out 5 Speak the Truth memberships. Appreciate you, brother. Now, here are my thoughts on this situation right here, right? Like I got asked a while ago back when I was married whether or not traveling to Amsterdam would be safe with everything that was going on. And I absolutely not. I don't believe it is. And I still don't think it's safe all the way back here in the United States of America. And here's my reasons for that, and particularly over in Europe, over in the EU, anywhere across there. Obviously, Europe's going to have a hell of a lot more problems with the amount of loose immigration laws that they had as people started to migrate out of the Middle East and over there, and everybody actually started getting like kind of like taken in. And Germany is seeing the freaking results of that. The UK is seeing the results of that, right? So all of those people now are kind of over there, and this is the problem when it comes to ideology, is that ideology is able to spread. Right. And all you have to do is find specific sympathizers that are going to make things happen. When it comes to instances like this, when it comes down to having a car bomb, a lot of people don't really think about the amount of like components that are going to go into making this happen, particularly a place like Amsterdam. Right. It's not exactly the easiest thing to do over there. So the pants check is Ronnie's thing at Funker. Matt deserves better. Thank you. Thank you very much. You guys started pants checking me after Rob called in and said that I needed to get pants checked. Well, I'll just put my leg up here right now. And as you can see, I got my freaking fancy pants on. So everybody calm down. All right. Everybody calm down. But the amount of moving pieces that actually goes into putting something like this together is, I don't want to say it's significant, but it's definitely a thing, right? It's definitely a thing. Look, even an ammonium nitrate charge, right? Everybody goes, oh, it's ammonium nitrate. You can go get that from anywhere. Okay. Fair. Let's say that you can go and get the 33% ammonium nitrate in the levels that you want in order to get that sucker to go. The next problem that you're going to have is detonation. Okay. And in order to detonate ammonium nitrate, and I mean actually detonate it, I'm not talking about, setting off a couple pound charge of tannerite here or there. I'm talking about an actual detonation that's going to freaking go boom. All right. If you're actually going to want that sucker to go boom, you are going to need something around the equivalent of TNT or stronger in order for it to go off. In order to get that sucker to go off, you're going to need some other things as well. So there is more explosives that go into it other than ammonium nitrate. Believe it or not, a lot of people don't realize this. This is what happened with Timothy McVeigh. I'm sorry. Yeah. He was the one that blew up the OKC building, right? So the Oklahoma City bombing within itself, they failed to actually get that done correct, okay? There was about 2,000 pounds worth of explosives that was inside of that van. Due to the way it was primed and due to how they had set it up, only about half of it actually went off. So you got about, 950 roughly to 1,000 pounds of ANFO that ended up going off outside of the Oklahoma City building, right? And those things make a difference for how to make it happen. So when you're talking about planning an attack like this and having all that actually go as planned, dude, it takes a while. Mike 17 says, Mike 17. He's been a member for 14 months. What up, Matt? Doing a crawfish boil next weekend. Wish you could make it. Dude, I wish I could do a crawfish boil next weekend, but I did get invited to go hang out and do some other things with some friends. And so I think I'm going to end up doing that. I actually am going to go watch some midget wrestling tomorrow night. So it's going to be a pretty good time. I'm going to go take a look at that. Over here in the United States, Liberation Day ended up happening, ended up pissing off a lot of people.
This is one of the most important days, in my opinion, American history. It's our declaration of economic.
Cool. So we ended up throwing out a bunch of freaking tariffs all over the place. And it would seem that a lot of those tariffs are working. Now, let's talk about the Middle East for a minute. And somebody out there had actually tagged me in this video. And this is what we're going to, before we start talking about Gaza, I think this is kind of an important thing. And I want to thank Ginger Poach for tagging me inside of this video, because I think it's super important when we're talking about everything that's escalating over inside of the Middle East right now and what it's going to look like, whether or not we're going to strike Iran. We have to start paying attention to all of the different moving pieces, which I think we did a very, very good job of paying attention to the moving pieces. Now, this morning, Clay Higgins put this out. Give this a listen.
It's 6:30 in the morning on Thursday. Meeting with Speaker Johnson and a handful of others. And we're headed to the Pentagon for a briefing. This will be my third Pentagon level briefing in less than 24 hours. You know, America, this service to my country, if you're going to do it right, never stops. We're not voting yesterday or today, but I'm here working. It'll be okay. We're going to stay on top of things.
How many Pentagon press briefings did he say he got in 24 hours? I believe it was 3. All right, 3 Pentagon press briefings within 24 hours. Now, why, oh, why would Clay Higgins need to get that many frickin' briefings from the Pentagon that flipping soon? Well, I think when we start looking at this and we start kind of like analyzing things, right? Let me see where it's at. So we've got Clay Higgins that's doing that, all right? And then the IDF actually ended up putting out this today as well. I told you guys that General Kurilla, the CENTCOM commander, was over there. And I want you to pay attention to what the IDF also said. So we got Higgins, okay? We've got Higgins that's talking about multiple Pentagon press briefings that ended up taking place, all right? And we also have General Kurilla, the U.S. CENTCOM commander, the person that's responsible for Iran, Israel, all of those locations as far as like U.S. military command is concerned. And they said the commander of CENTCOM, all right, arrived in Israel this week as the official guest of the chief of staff, all right, Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir. They held a joint meeting with IDF senior commanders. Great. During which they discussed strategic security issues across the region. Those are the key words that you're looking for. Strategic security issues across the region. This meeting serves as another reinforcement of the strategic ironclad relationship between the IDF and the United States military. That, ladies and gentlemen, is your other linchpin to this entire thing. I told you when the CENTCOM commander goes to Israel, we're always going to see something kind of crazy start to uptick over there. And so we have Higgins is getting multiple Pentagon press briefings. We have multiple strike carrier groups that are on their way over to the Middle East right now. We have a buttload of freaking aircraft within the region. We have Trump warning Iran to stop playing freaking games. And we have Kurilla discussing strategic security issues across the region. Now, let's talk about what a strategic security issue is over the region when we start talking about this, right? So you have strategic is kind of a key word in this entire statement, right? Because what they're talking about, they're not talking about the operation inside Gaza. They're not talking about the operation inside Lebanon. They're not talking about an operation over inside of the West Bank or in Syria, but strategic security issues. Strategic security issues for the state of Israel would be things like Iran. It would be things like HTS. It would be part of the broader overarching goal for Israel. So that word strategic is what's actually key in this entire thing. It also would include things like the Houthis, right, over there within the region. So when you have General Kurilla meeting up with the freaking command staff, basically, of the Israeli military, and they're discussing strategic issues, and while he's doing that, think about this now. I want you to think about this. While he is over there doing that, all right, we've got Pentagon briefings that are going on for our freaking representatives. Now, why would the Pentagon be needing to update so many freaking times on what's going on? Think about it. Kurilla's on the ground. Pentagon's kicking out multiple freaking briefings to our freaking elected officials, and things are slowly starting to move that way. And I've got something else that's going to be going in there as well. All right. So as Kurilla is over there, likely what's happening, okay, is as Kurilla is over there and he's meeting up with the IDF, you have all of these plans, like these strike plans, whatever's going on, because the situation's fluid, right? You can take a general shell over time for what we're going to do to Iran and what we're going to do to Lebanon, Yemen, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But those plans need solidified. Airstrike results. Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to see some airstrike results coming in pretty soon. So you've got this overarching plan that they're going to have, and now they're over there discussing how all of this is going to play out, right? They're now finalizing their plans for the strike on Iran, okay, or the strike on, I don't even, like, truthfully, I don't even think HTS might get out of this one. For as in depth as it's going right now. Okay. Like U.S. still has, if you guys didn't see the video I dropped yesterday, U.S. still has HTS as a designated foreign terror organization, which would include Jelani, all right, which would include all the idiots that are over there and everybody else. If we wanted to go in and strike HTS right now legally under U.S. law, we absolutely could. Okay. If we had the right justifications for it. And them establishing a Sunni Islamic caliphate over inside of Syria, that's a very real thing. It's a very real concern for the United States of America. That's a very real security concern for Israel and the entire Middle Eastern region. So just because a particular bounty got removed from their heads doesn't mean that they are free and clear from being targeted by the United States of America. And I think that is a very important topic for everybody to understand. Same thing when it goes down to the Haqqani network. You know, the United States military went over, or United States government went over and met up with the Haqqanis the other day. And again, still a designated foreign terror organization. If we want, we still have the ability to take that hammer and freaking slap it down on them. So everybody who's getting their panties in a twist, thinking some crazy things are going to happen, not so far as, you know, because we removed a bounty off of Jelani's head and everything else. It's still a foreign terror organization. We also have other cartel members and stuff like that that popped up on it, which is great. But next announcement that ended up coming out was IDF and Shin Bet, all right, took out several key Hamas terrorists, targeted an airstrike today inside of Gaza City, and we're going to show you that. Other key leaders, such as I want to say it was the Al-Quds Brigade commander inside of Khan Yunis, also got killed today in an airstrike. That information rumored to come out just a little bit ago that Hamas had announced. The operatives were at a command center that was used by Hamas to plan and carry out attacks on Israeli troops, according to the IDF, and it took steps to mitigate the airstrike, okay, or the civilian damage from the airstrike. This is give me a second. Yep, Hamas's Khan Yunis Brigade commander, all right, down over there in the Gaza Strip. Dude's dead, gone. They admitted it. They talked about it. He's dead and gone. Okay, so they're knocking those things out left and right. But there was another airstrike, okay, that ended up taking place a little bit further to the north. Let me play this one for you. We're going to get this one up on the screen. This ends up coming out, you know, here, let's just get it up and then we'll talk about it.
يا الله مكان تواجدنا يا الله استهداف نفس المكان كله متواجد فيه.
I see somebody asked me about when do your videos come out. I'm going to be posting another video 7 p.m. Central Standard Time tonight, and we're going to be going over, you know, Trump was right about Ukraine, unfortunately, or whatever. Sadly, Trump was right about Ukraine. The op-ed that ended up getting written, that's going to be the video that's going to get dropped tonight, and we're going to be going over why, in my opinion, and again, hear me out on this. And you guys, if you, for some, I'm going to piss a lot of people off when I say this. Like I said, that gentleman ended up twisting the article for those that don't know about it. So I'm glad that question actually came through, because I'm gonna give you a little precursor to this, okay? Talking about this article, and then we're gonna jump back over into Gaza. This article from The Hill twisted history so wrong, it's not even funny. No. Peter, I love how you say he was wrong. He was actually correct. He very much so was correct. So as I tell you that now, hold on, listen to the next words coming out of my mouth. He was correct. And sometimes it's okay to start a war, because all the way back since the collapse of the Soviet Union, I listen to people go, wow, all the way back since the collapse of the Soviet Union, since Ukraine became its own independent state, Vladimir Putin and Russia has continued to attempt to exert control over Ukraine. All the way back in the 2004 elections. Who was it? What was his dang name again? Because it's killing me inside because I'm forgetting about it. All right. But they ended up having like the Orange Revolution and everything else back then. Okay. All the way back during the 2004 election. It's not Lukashenko. Hold on. Give me a sec. I got to refresh my memory here. I don't know why my brain is farting so freaking hard on this. Okay. We're actually going to be talking. Where'd he go? Oh, yeah. Yanukovych. Viktor Yanukovych was actually being widely supported by Putin. Putin even made it so far as to fly into Ukraine and give like a public statement, public speech. It was like this whole like Soviet Union freaking fiasco that ended up going on over there, right? And Yanukovych himself ended up coming out of the Donbass. Believe it or not, a lot of people don't know that. Yanukovych came out of the Donbass region. He used to be, I want to say it was like the governor of the Oblast or something freaking weird like that. But either way, he originally won the presidential election in 2004 until everybody got kind of pissed off and was like, wait a minute, that's a fraudulent election. That's a fraudulent election. And so they ended up having to go and do a revote. And then, okay, later on, a couple years down the road, 2010, they ended up holding another presidential election. This time, Yanukovych wins, and the international community looked at it and was like, hey, no corruption. About 2 years later, they discovered there was corruption. And again, Putin continued to frickin' throw pressure on Yanukovych to continue to go more pro-Russian, right? Go more Russian trade, more Russian this, more Russian that. And the Ukrainian people see all this crap going on, and they know what's actually happening. They get pissed, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. Now, when I start talking and saying that Ukraine started it, yeah, they did by kicking Russia the crap out of their own sovereign country. That's how Ukraine started it. And in this article that he talks about, and I'm going to go over this, right? In this article that he talks about, he even brings up the Maidan Square incident and mentions it, okay? First, as recently documented by overwhelming forensic evidence and affirmed by a Kiev court, it was a Ukrainian white-ring militant who started the violence in 2014. That's not accurate at all. Provoking Russia's initial, whatever, into Crimea. Okay, so when you actually go over and you read what that will tell you is that nine, and I say it again, nine people out of 100, I want to say it was 115 killed, according to that report that he referenced in that, nine people, just nine, not 104, not 100, not whatever, 9 people they allege could have came from this separate hotel. Gunfire could have came from that separate hotel where some of the people that were standing up over against Russia were hanging out. All right. It was a freaking massacre. Period. End of discussion. So for this guy to take and gaslight history, I cannot wait to actually take and rip this whole thing apart. I'm actually writing a pretty long freaking article. I got lost track of time because I was over there like detailing and writing out exactly what we were talking about and everything else. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. All right. Yes, Ukraine absolutely should have done what they did. When it goes to NATO expansion, though, this guy gets even more wrong inside of you. You know what? I'm going to save it for the video tonight. I'm going to save it for the video because I'm going to get worked up and pissed off. But yeah, Ukraine absolutely should have told Russia to kiss its ass. All right. And they should have thrown out what's his face? I always forget his dang name. Yanukovych. They should have thrown him out, as they did. Because he was doing a bunch of like nasty things. But let's get back over into Gaza because that's what I'm trying to talk about right now. All right. But that video will drop around 7 p.m. Central Standard Time tonight. All right. So they ended up taking that out. The airstrike, just to refresh your memory, let me get that up on the screen that we're talking about over in the Central Gaza Strip is right here. Okay. So here's your airstrike that ended up taking place, knocked out a bunch of people. Now, they ended up claiming that it took out a school and several other things. I think Israel ended up coming out and saying it was basically a command headquarters where they were planning attacks and doing several other, dirty little terrorist things out of there. But the problem is that they actually warned the people. They warned them. They warned them to get the hell out of there, and they didn't listen. Now, the crazy part about that is there isn't a video that I've found so far of that actual airstrike taking place, which means, it's continuing on the same path of what we talked about over inside of Gaza, which is the IDF is not warning these folks before those bombs actually drop. They dropped leaflets and told them to get the hell out of Dodge, all right? Or the public affairs ended up blasting it out and telling people to get the hell out of Dodge, all right? But they refused to listen. And it was the same crap that we saw in Khan Yunis and everything else, okay? Last year when the IDF was going in, where people just refused to get the hell out. Well, now they're paying attention. Okay. This is a new evacuation order that ended up being given today. And you can see the people over inside of Gaza are actually listening, finally paying attention. Now look at that place. Look at it. Take a look. This is how they've been living. The Palestinian who cried school. Thank you, D-Rock. That's hilarious. Yeah, they're always crying school, right? So this is how they've been living. Right now, none of them are starving, as you can see here, at all. I actually saw videos of a Palestinian making cookies this morning while I was doing my research and bragging about it on TikTok and going to sell them and stuff. I chose not to let it make the cut. But finally, they're listening and they're getting the hell out of Dodge. Where they're going, I don't know, but they're going. And Israel is going to end up writing in there. Additionally, up in the northern portion of the Gaza Strip again, we have more protests that are taking place. And it's funny because people are still, and I'm going to show you guys a video here in just a sec, people are still saying that like these protests that are taking place up in the north and all around different areas of the Gaza Strip aren't real. They're worried about them. They're saying that for some reason, these protests are like, I don't know. It's not the case. Yeah, I love how Linda Liu says Mossad. She's absolutely correct. And I've talked about this before. You're having more and more protests that are starting to pop up. You have more infighting that's taking place. I could pull up a video of some gunfights and stuff taking place over inside Gaza. all right, between different clans, and also Hamas is over there trying to like wipe off these people that are leading these freaking uprisings. But the problem is that they're starting to catch fire. That's what's happening. They're starting to catch fire. Oh, Massad Hussein Yusuf. Oh, I see what oh, my bad. Ooh, sorry. All right. So they're starting to uprise. They're starting to do that. And it's starting to, like I said, it's starting to take foot. And so this within itself, these uprisings is like a very good sign that, you know, it's starting to pick up and that the people are starting to get up at it and that they haven't backed down. And then Israel is over inside of the Gaza Strip right now. As a matter of fact, they actually held a meeting. I think I actually have that coming up next. They held a meeting over inside of Gaza, all right, to discuss the war plans, i.e. they are putting together like a permanent freaking foothold over inside of Gaza, and they are continuing to move forward, which in my opinion is pretty freaking cool, that they're now like saying, screw it, we're here, we're stuck, we're not going anywhere. This video right here is of Palestinians. Actually, this was in an UNRWA warehouse. I forget the name. I forget which city this was in, but this was in an UNRWA warehouse. And obviously Hamas was holding on to all the humanitarian aid and not giving it up to the people. When I say that Hamas is broken, when I say that Hamas has lost control, I'm not kidding. That's absolutely real. And you can tell Hamas has lost control because of this. All right. Hamas has lost control because you've got those uprisings. And look, here's them going and getting their freaking food back. All right. They're literally taking it and pulling it out there. Now, before when Palestinians would try to do this type of stuff, they were getting shot at, beaten. I can pull up all those old videos of Hamas literally guarding these trucks of freaking humanitarian aid supplies and everything like that as they're going in there. But now the people are actually able to go in and get their stuff back. And so what that's telling me, all right, when you look at this, what that's actually telling me is you have a bunch of the Hamas fighters that were responsible for places like this that are defecting. They're not hanging around. YM says, first time I'm hearing the Amsterdam situation, not even top of front page here right now. That's freaking sad. That's sad. And you know that crap's going off, and you know those terror attacks are going to start increasing across Amsterdam and the West and everywhere else because of what's taking place inside Gaza and because what the United States and Israel are about to do to Iran and likely other freaking terror organizations across the Middle East. Period. And those people are going to start acting up, and they're going to start ramping up attacks. And yeah, they might happen here in the United States of America as well. But this, ladies and gentlemen, that is a very good sign. Last year in August, I believe, when I said this, was that the IDF had grabbed the intelligence off the battlefield inside of Khan Yunis from a battalion commander that was supposed to be on its way up over into, what's his name? Big Dumbo ear leader of freaking Hamas. I can't remember his name right now. It's blowing my mind. Either way, in that letter that he had fired off, what he had said was that 50% of his force had been killed or wounded. And this is August last year. 50% of his force had been killed or wounded. 25% had actually defected and laid down their arms and ran away. And he was operating about 25% capacity without enough weapons to keep on. Sinwar, thank you very much. Yeah, Sinwar. Yeah, Sinwar. Yeah, that big Dumbo ear looking dude, right? And so you had people defecting all the way back then. Last year, you had people from Hamas that were defecting, operating at about 25% capacity. All right. And you could apply that number across the Gaza Strip by simply taking it, and you could look at the different amount of numbers that the IDF was reporting up as killed or wounded in battle as far as like Hamas battle damage assessments go, right? They estimated right around that same time frame. I think it was like 19,000, and then they bumped it up to like 20 or 21,000, something in there. So 20,000 roughly. Okay, so you're talking just a couple thousand of these dudes remaining over in Gaza right now, just a couple thousand. All right, and out of that couple thousand that was over there, likely, now that the IDF is coming in, likely that all of these things are happening, that their plan with the hostages and everything else has failed. You've got a bunch of people that are going to have laid down their arms, and they're going to attempt to blend back into the civilian population. And this is where I worry for, the Trump and Netanyahu plan of everything that's going on over there. It's where I kind of like start to worry about it, because here you go. Here's your IDF leadership over inside of Gaza discussing the future war plans, right? They're going to be failing because all of those Hamas sympathizers have actually freaking backed out, and they're now over inside of the civilian population. They didn't go anywhere. They're still inside Gaza. They just defected. I can't believe you buy that show. I don't even know. Sinbad, I don't know, whatever. So they have defected, they pull back out, they're going to be back inside the population, and they're going to end up having to deal with all of that crap here in the near future. And truthfully, I'm going to be kind of curious to see how Israel implements it. They are pretty freaking smart when it comes to a lot of stuff. We'll end up, seeing what happens. This next video that I'm going to end up showing you is the aftermath of a freaking airstrike / attack by Israel near Rosh Hanikra. All right. What ended up happening is again, you have freaking, I don't want to say this. We're switching the gears right now out of Gaza and going up to Lebanon. Israel is also taking the freaking fight to Hezbollah inside of southern Lebanon. They're not dealing with this shit anymore. They also ended up getting attacked over inside of Syria. And the videos that came out of Syria, I wish I could actually show you, but I can't. There was a bunch of terrorists that were riding up in vans going over to attack Israeli forces yesterday inside of Syria. Israel ended up conducting an airstrike. I'm sorry, not an airstrike. It was reported there were some airstrikes that were taking place, but these guys, I ended up seeing the aftermath in the van and everything else, and they're over there burying the bodies today inside Syria of all these idiots that ended up dying. But Israel's no longer putting up with this crap. And so I think Israel is going to slowly start learning that inside Gaza, that Hamas is defecting and doing those other things, and that they're going to now be able to start shifting their focus up into the northern border while keeping pressure over inside of the West Bank for now. To be honest, I don't like the tariffs on foreign cars, working with our domestic dealerships, then going to a Subaru dealership, a night, a day difference in the way they treat you. Dude, is what it is. You think we will end up seeing a direct conflict with Israeli and Turkish forces in Syria? That is a solid freaking question. Okay. I think I mentioned this yesterday. Let me see if I can pull up my handy dandy map here. So a couple days ago, I saw a report and it was unconfirmed. I saw a report that was unconfirmed that we had, that we ended up having Turkish forces that were moving down into Syria. So over here, just to orient you guys, obviously Israel, Gaza, Lebanon, Syria. All right. And all of the fighting that the IDF is doing is kind of like over. They've kind of taken up a lot of the border region in order to like create a little buffer space and all that other stuff. And then they're also kind of like south of Damascus. Right. And so all of what I ended up seeing was Turkish forces going in to back up HTS. And that's a problem. There's also reports right now coming out of Syria of ethnic cleansing against Christians and them already enforcing Sharia law over them. So you have ethnic cleansing, you have Sharia law, you have all of this stuff that's going on kind of like behind the scenes, and everybody's being very hush-hush about all this crap. And the biggest issue, right, that I know I see, and I think a lot of other people see, thank you for bringing that up, is Turkey. Turkey is a huge problem coming up in the north. We ended up seeing Turkey last year, right as HTS was taken over. All right. And Assad ended up flying up north over into frickin' Russia. Right. But we ended up seeing Turkey like break through the border and start pushing out a little bit. And this was like right before all the Russian forces and everybody else went over and started withdrawing. But recently there's new reports coming in and alleged video. And again, it's civilian cell phone video. And so it's just kind of on what the reports say is there. Did Iran really close their airspace? We're about to find out. Of Turkish forces moving into Syria to help maintain freaking control over the country. That's what they're talking about. And if that's the case, if that's happening, all right, one, I don't see the Turkish forces going down and going after Israel. Because if they do, I think that's going to be a breaking point for the United States of America. Yeah, I don't think they have balls. I would assume that they're going to stay north of Damascus. I don't see them pushing any further south if for some reason that they do. But they were marching all the way down towards Aleppo and coming, it's a quick route straight down into Homs as well. But do I see them freaking going over and like messing with Israel? The answer is no. Turkey has enough issues right now that they're going to have to deal with if that's the stance that they choose to take. And I don't think they want to risk that war. It would be unprecedented as far as like NATO's concerned and history and everything else. I just don't see that freaking happening. So we're going to see right now. Oh, come on, Flight Radar. Get it together. Get it together, Flight Radar. We're going to see a lot of this crap. We're going to see a lot of things that are going to be taking place over here in the Middle East. These bombing campaigns and everything else that's going to go on. If Turkey does that, the amount of hardware that we ended up moving, I was listening to what the hell was it earlier? I was basically reading up on the amount of firepower or the amount of weight that these freaking planes can end up holding, right? Like one of the B2s, just one B2 has like a 40,000 pound load capacity, if I remember correct. 40,000 pound load capacity. That's freaking huge. That is a lot of boom boom, right? That is a buttload of freaking boom boom. Just for one. And we moved what, at least, what is it, 6 or 7 into the region that we were able to count legitimately. And so if we have that much boom boom over there and we're going to use it, it's going to be freaking insane. And it has to be, like I said, if we're going to strike Iran, we have to strike them hard. We can't half-ass a strike on Iran. And I think that's what the U.S. government's, is trying to do right now, is go in and slap the shit out of them. And so do I think that's going to happen? Absolutely. Do I know when? I think by tomorrow night. At the latest, we'll end up seeing it. Tomorrow's Friday. Are we going to strike them on a Friday? I don't know. I would hope so. I would sincerely hope that the United States government had its balls and that we went over and we struck them on a Friday. I would be perfectly okay with that. But when it's going to happen is the question. Iran closed airports, not airspace. Well, that's good to know. So let me try doing this because for some reason we're having a lot of issues right now. So let me try this. Let me get rid of this right here. And let me get this up on the screen again. Why are you doing this to me? There we go. Now we're back up and running. Okay. I was like, why the heck did that take so long? So there's Iraq. There's Iran. As you guys can see currently over Iranian airspace, let me zoom out so you can kind of see the region and where we're going. There's Iraq, there's Iran, and you guys can see there is plenty of aircraft currently flying over top of Iran. So anybody that's worried about the airspace being closed or anything like that over Iran, it's not. Airports being closed, that's kind of interesting if they in fact are. Here's multiple NAs. We're not going to talk about where they're coming from or where they're going, but that's also interesting. Where the heck did that originate from? What I have started to notice a lot, and here's another one that's showing Iran's clearly scrambling freaking radar over there right now. So Iran is concerned. When you look at a lot of these different flight paths and stuff like that that are coming out and they get into Iranian airspace and they travel over these specific regions, and you see this is radar scrambling. That's what's taking place over this area. When you can't actually see where they're coming from, or you get these lines that are going over, that's all that radar scrambling and shit. All right. It's showing you that you can't track where it's coming from. That's not much air traffic. You're right, because a lot of airlines have probably figured out to stay the hell away from there. So it's likely going to be coming soon. Likely it's coming soon in the next 24 to 48 hours. I would assume next 24 to 48 hours, Iran's going to start feeling it. Sun goes down, sun goes up. I don't really think it matters. I really hope we strike them in freaking broad daylight. Turkey is the kid you pick last in dodgeball. Nailed it. So yeah, Iran's most definitely preparing for that, and they were worried about all of that crap. Here you see the scrambling again coming out of Mashhad airbase, all of the scrambling stuff that's taking place. This place notably, like right down over here, as you can see, it's like over the Isfahan area, where you have like these flight patterns and stuff coming out of Isfahan. They're all broken up and screwed up, and nothing really looks right about all of that. Isfahan, there you have like some of the nuke facilities that they're going to end up having down there. We were opining and talking yesterday about whether or not Iran's going to have the ability in order to launch like long range freaking strikes on Diego Garcia. I don't think they can. And I also don't think it would be within their best freaking, how do I want to say this, use of limited resources that they're about to have. That is way too far away for those stupid ass drones to be flying. If they launched a preemptive strike on Diego Garcia, we would be able to, as long as we're talking about the drone wave and all that other crap, right? Like overwhelming crap, like the same thing they did to Israel. It's so far away that our pilots would be able to shit, shower, and shave, all right, eat a good breakfast, and then be able to get up and go climb into their aircraft and start flying before those drones even came anywhere near, and they just start shooting them down, right? It would be a lot. It would be a lot of effort. It'd be a lot of work, but ultimately they're going to end up taking them out. So I don't think we have to worry about that anytime in the near future. I'm going to go ahead and get that video done. We're going to get that sucker up and running. If you didn't watch the video yesterday, make sure you do. For anybody that's coming in here trying to figure out what's going on over in the Middle East, if you're kind of like brand new to this and you go over to the Speak the Truth main channel, I want to show you guys this. And I think it's a very good video, and I think people need to go watch it. If you're struggling to figure out why the U.S. is about to bomb Iran, you need to get your butt over the channel. When you get over there and you get over the channel, you're going to see this video right here. U.S. versus Iran. What every American should know, you need to go watch that video. If you don't know shit from Shinola about this conflict, go watch that video, and it's going to tell you everything that you need to know currently. It's not going to be as in-depth as I wanted it to be, but currently it's going to explain a lot of what's taking place over there. So the war is coming on the thumbnail, U.S. versus Iran. Go watch it. It explains a hell of a lot. If you guys didn't watch that video, and you're just over here right now to kind of give you an update, and you want to explain to other people what's going on, and you want to explain to other people what's going on, go up over to my Twitter page. And when you get up over there, you're going to see this map. It's pinned to the very top right now. All right. And this map details very, very freaking well most, not all, but most of the foreign terror organizations that the IRGC is funding and backing. All right. So IRGC being a foreign terror organization labeled by the United States as well. You have Hezbollah over in Lebanon. You've got Hamas over inside the Gaza Strip, PFLP, PIJ. I left another one out of there as well. Kataib Hezbollah over inside of Iraq. And then the Houthis down inside Yemen, or Ansarullah, however you want to label them. They're all down there. And the whole goal of Iran has always been, number one, they're Shia. And so people are asking this question, like, how the hell is it that the Shia are partnering up with the Sunnis? And so for those of you that don't know, what the Sunnis are like, what, 80% of the Islamic faith, and Shia are like 20. And so you have all of these Sunnis that are now working together with the Shia, going over there and doing this. And you ask, why is that? Because they all still have the same common belief. Okay, and that common belief is that Muhammad ascended into heaven from the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is why they named it the Al-Aqsa Flood, and so on and so forth. So they all have that same radical ideological belief there. Their only real quarrel is who should be leading the Islamic faith, all right? And they've been killing each other for freaking centuries over that shit. But to get back into it, though, Iran, when you really take a look at what they've had to do, you know, like I said, all their oil exports and stuff like that end up, for the most part, coming out of the Persian Gulf and then sailing around. And if they want to get it up over there, most of the time they're going to have to go through the Suez Canal, or I'm sorry, the Strait of Hormuz. Brain fart. One controlled by Egypt. They have to go through there in order to get it through, right? If they want to pump that oil out. So if they were able to gain control of Iraq, or political influence over Iraq, and if they were able to gain political control over Syria, then they'd be able to take a pipeline and just run that sucker straight out. And that's kind of been their goal for economic purposes for a really, really long time. It's not like a well-hidden secret. It's just there that they kind of want to do. And they tried to do it after ISIS came in and took control over northern Iraq after the U.S. had already pulled out. And they tried to provide their fighters to go and take over Iraq. Iran did. And the U.S. then stepped up and said, that's a bad thing. Over inside Syria, they're backing up the Assad regime, because if they were able to get all of those things done and Assad remains in power and they're pro-Iranian and they have that, well, that allows them to get the ground. But they lost it. HTS over in Syria is not friends with the IRGC, because the IRGC has been partnering with Hezbollah. Okay, and Hezbollah has been taking the fight recently to the HTS, if you guys haven't noticed. So all of that is a freaking issue, right? What's going on over there? Iran is losing its influence over the region, and this is a problem. This is why Iran has been pushing so damn hard to get all of this done. And this is why the United States is going after them. And all of that is explained very well in depth in that last video that I ended up posting yesterday. Today, you're going to get one that's going to be explaining the history of Ukraine, why Trump was actually right, and why it's okay for Trump to have actually been right on this scenario. I know it hurts a lot of people's feelings, but yeah, Ukraine absolutely should have kicked Russia the hell out of their government. And I'm going to show you all of the Russian influence, the international community's documenting of it, videos of freaking Putin literally doing exactly what I just said. All of that needs to happen, right? And that's okay. Where the lies start coming in is the NATO expansion, things of that nature. Dude, we were in Ukraine in 2015, right? NATO. Not just the United States of America, Canada, and several other freaking nations. NATO nations were over inside of Ukraine in 2015, right after all of this happened. So it's not a secret that we were fixing, like, that Ukraine wanted to become a NATO country. It wasn't Zelensky that promoted it and said, no, we need to become a NATO country. All right. And then people want to bring up like the Minsk agreements and things like that. Well, Russia was in violation of those, so it didn't really matter. Okay. They shot down a freaking commercial airliner over in the Donbass. Okay. So all of those things are going to be laid out inside that video of why it is okay for Ukraine to want to kick Russia the hell out of their damn country. Period. Russia is clearly the aggressor. They have no stake to the freaking land. They have no claim to the land. All right. Period. Everybody calm down. MH17. Thank you. And Nick. Appreciate it. Russia screwed that whole place up bad. And they've been doing it ever since the collapse of the Soviet Union. And people finally got pissed off. They finally wanted the Russia influence out. And the problem is that people do not understand a former Soviet bloc country and how all that freaking crap works, right? Nobody understands like what's been taking place. Everybody knows that, hey, Ukraine ended up getting turned over. But what you forget, after the collapse of the Soviet Union and all that happened, just because Ukraine got some independence does not mean that the KGB went away. Does not mean that all of the politicians and the influential people went away. Does not mean that the corruption didn't exist. And when you talk about corruption, you want to talk about election fraud? There was election fraud. A lot of it. It was documented. And the same guy that won the election in 2010 that ended up getting thrown out the damn country in 2014 that fled back over into Russia was known to have committed the election fraud. And he was in charge. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, yes, they did. They kicked them the hell out. And it's okay. And the reason Ukraine started it is because Putin is a freaking madman. And that's okay. Period. Ooh, holy cow, man. I see somebody telling me to take a chill pill. Linda Lou, are you telling me to take a chill pill? No, come on now. Yeah. My father was a Russian soldier in Afghanistan. Now he hates Russia so much. We are Moldovan. Hell yeah. Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for always explaining current issues so well. Kelly, I mean, I am 100% going to, I see somebody, Linda, Matt, no. Okay, Linda, we still love you. Very, very much so. I'm going to end up breaking all this down in a video. And it's fact-based, period. It's just based on facts. It's got the research behind it. It's got the international reports. It's got all of that crap on the ground. So when you see idiots like that article, right, that was up there about Trump being right, unfortunately or sadly or whatever it is, that broke the internet last month, that needs corrected pretty freaking quick, really, really quick, because Trump was right to an extent, just in all the wrong ways, right, according to that article. That article was very poorly written. It didn't have a lot of research behind it, and I'm going to be submitting one as well. And so we're going to have fun with all that. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to see you guys tonight, 9, well, maybe I'm going to do 8 p.m. tonight. I'm going to go for 8 p.m. tonight, Central Standard Time, for another live episode of the Speak the Truth podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Peace, love, happiness, and God bless. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure your notification bells are turned on, because when the USA starts bombing the crap out of freaking Iran, you're